Time to clean the old upper oil pan tray. And historically, how I've always done this is with a whiz wheel 3M pad. And on the aluminum, you can scrape some of this off if you don't be careful. And this has already been scraped on once. So I'm just gonna use a wire wheel. Really does not take much. And these edges here, you can just pop off. Might be one right there. All right, let's go ahead and just stand it up. I've felt it losing power for quite some time. I was scraping this off, that there was a couple spots that weren't so perfect. It's ready for a pressure wash. We got one left. Do you remember which one that one is? I have some degreaser spray here, so I'm gonna get it pre-soaking. Some strong stuff. It really is. It really is making me want to cough. That's when you know it's good, when it chokes you up. Wait till it gets nice and hot, so you don't have to wait for it to go all the way through your hose. now for a good towel dry and then air dry. Now you're definitely going to clean all this stuff off with compressed air because you don't want any chunkies lurking around. Now again, I'm gonna just take my lint-free paper towel, my shop towel, and I'm gonna get most of this oil off because I just got done flipping it over again. So most of it's gonna come off just like this. Then I'm gonna spray it with none other than a foaming degreaser. And I've used all kinds of stuff. I've used Brake Clean. Would it have been better to put it on the towel? I'm really not that particular. I knew I was gonna trigger some people doing things certain ways. And you know what? I might or might not enjoy that. But this is a clean, lint-free. This is a pretty expensive cloth, and I'm getting it oily and dirty. And it's actually brand new, but it's a lint, specifically labeled lint-free. And now, after spraying that degreaser spray on it, it's completely dry and it's clean enough. It's ready for silicone, and I'm just gonna put the silicone. Do I put it here? Do I put it on the tray? Just check it out. With this old silicone here, it's always worth an extra few seconds to try to peel it off. You see that? So we'll go through here. These are for, you guessed it, the upper oil pan, the crank scraper tray. So this one has an aluminum upper oil pan and a stamped steel lower oil pan. Kind of a pain in the rear. You could probably run these on a wire brush and it would do the same thing. It might or might not take a similar amount of time. I'm not going to be a perfectionist with this. There's a couple small pieces still on there. You know, some people probably are perfectionists with every little detail. And wow, that would be tough to make money if you're that particular working on other people's cars. So those are good enough to bolt in. This is what I'm about to smear about this block, some Permatex. And while I'm at it real quick, let me just address the comment section. This YouTube stuff started getting real distracting. So you're pretty lucky that you're still getting regular videos, because I can put way much more work out without doing the documentation. So That's why I quit answering the comments, because it was too distracting with just doing YouTube as it is. And I do still look at the comments, and I do still occasionally want to get involved in the comments, but it's just too much. Like I said, I got too much going on. So, that being said, what we're planning on doing here is what we're actually doing right now, and that is applying the silicone. I'm not necessarily too concerned about the accuracy. As you see, I'm gonna go back over it. I can just feel it the best with my bare finger. It's a little bit heavy right here. Try to get it out of that hole. We want it kind of light around that passageway right there. I probably did apply it just a little bit on the thick side. If I wanted to, I could, as I'm doing this, I could take some of it and pawn it off on a paper towel. I don't typically go around this. I've got enough to where I can. And it won't hurt anything. Now, I'm not going to put a rear main seal on yet, so I'm not going to put it on the back side. To buy in aftermarket timing chains, okay? Some things I skimp on. Now, before you toss this thing on, it is the correct design though, and it might very well be the same one that's rebranded. But before you toss this one on, take a look at your links and make sure your links are facing you or facing the front. So we'll toss this in the hole here. No, we don't have to do that, but we do have to toss it in this hole. But why would we even need to put it on there first? Well, you'll see. Time for this oil pump. But remember, we have a screen and we had that dowel pin. That dowel pin goes in the back there. So let's go ahead and just toss that pin in real quick. There's the screen. And there's the pin. That screen. Let's get the chain. The chain won't go in there. We have to take the oil pump back off. Now, since we had to take it back off and move it, is that screen properly seated? Did it even stay in the pump? Look at it down there. See, that's what you have to pay attention to, because it likes to fall out. Now, it would have been fine. It was in the proper spot and it was flush, but I'm just saying you got to pay attention to these things. And I shouldn't have put my silicone on first since I'm doing all this demonstration. We can wait to put that tensioner on. There's a tensioner that goes here. Let's go ahead and put our, what do we got? our baffle, then the oil pan. Spotless and clean. Now, I need both hands. Now for the oil level sensor. What way does it go in? This way or this way? It goes in this way. But first you need to make sure that that O-ring is in there. And this one's a little bit dirty, so we're gonna clean it up first. No, of course the connector faces the back, silly. It is deceiving though, with that big old notch. It makes it look like the connector would want to go this way. Now, use your regular old quarter drive ratchet for this, because these studs are part of the oil pan, and if you don't know what you're doing with your power tools, you can snap these studs off, and you're in a pretty bad situation if you do that, right? We don't want to do that. But those are nice and torqued in now, and once this is evenly set, then all of these, I was taught to go around the oil pan. Once you evenly set it in place, to just go all the way around it. That's how I was taught. Now, what's left? Well, let's flip it around. I full well understand that people can't stand this about me, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this used water pump. Even though I know it's a failure item, it's completely perfect still. This thing might still last another 5,000 miles. I mean, I'm joking, but I mean, really, it could last another 100,000 miles. Realistically, it's only gonna last another 10,000 miles, maybe 30,000 miles. But see, this is how easy it is to put it in there whenever you don't have to deal with this union. But you'll see how easy it is to put it in there with the union too. Anyway, I contemplated putting a cheap aftermarket one in, but you know what? I think it's fine. Whoever buys it, I'll just tell them if they want to pay extra, I'll throw an expensive pump on there. If they want to pay a little bit extra, I'll put a cheap aftermarket pump on there. And that's something that they can pay extra for or get the car a little bit cheaper for. You know? And then if they ignore it and it turns into emergency, then they can pay me emergency money to fix it. On these water pumps, it's nice to start in the nether regions and work your way toward the outer regions. And then zip it in. Full fledge. Allowing the long extension to be a flex torque adapter. Now let's put the guard on. Until further notice, for like injector O-rings or for this union or for things that need to slide into place and really need to work and you don't want to take it back apart again, I prefer to use a type of tire shine. And until, like I say, until further notice, that's what I'm going to use, because that's my tech tip. And you'll see how well it works if you try to use it yourself. And I figure that it's safe for rubber if it's made for tires, so tell me what you think. But man, the stuff works like magic putting rubber seals together, especially on O-rings for fuel injectors. but really great for cooling systems as well. Remember, this is where our oil filter block goes, our alternator bracket, you could say. So let's go ahead and just slide that into place. And then if we take a peek around the corner here, we can see that that just sits flush. But let's just push and wiggle it into place. And then that'll flush up right there. And then we can screw our bolts in. So with my hand right here, I'm just gonna grab my tool and zip, 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 zip. Uh-oh, we are just a little bit off. And I didn't even, see, that's why you don't tighten it all the way. Just this one right here that I barely set in. See, that's all I did. And it wasn't enough to allow that bottom one to start. Now that bottom one started. That one. Back up to the top. Now let's go ahead and start setting them in. But I'm gonna switch over to my ratchet so I can get a good aluminum torque spec by hand. Even though I could do it just fine with the power tool. Right about there, back over here, right about there, up top, right about there. Very important to get this thing put on there tight enough. And one last right here. We need to make sure that this is still in here. If you take this off and put it back in, this, can I pull it out with my pinky? Just a second. It's like a restrictor return valve, oil filter deal, jobby thing. I can't remember exactly what it's called off the top of my head, but someone smart will put it in the comments for you. I can guarantee it, because lots of smart people watch this YouTube channel. And I encourage the comment section to be more like a community and to help each other out, friends. Updated factory style tensioner to install. So these bolts might be a little bit different with their material. I don't know, but they're the only ones that have a black type color. So I definitely make sure to always keep these bolts with the tensioner. And they could stretch and, you know, they feel a little bit this way, that way. If you're not comfortable with your innermost feelings, then grab yourself a torque spec booklet. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab myself a small quarter drive ratchet and I'm gonna feel it out like that. And I'm gonna say, they're both torqued just fine. Folks, we're gonna stop right there on that one. And then the next one that we pick up on is gonna be with our cylinder head. And then we're gonna put the timing kit on and it's all gonna go pretty quickly. So that's gonna be a pretty big one. So you wanna stay tuned and you wanna make sure that you're subscribed for it, because I've got a cheapo Chinese cylinder head and I've got one that costs twice as much. And of course, I do have a couple reman cylinder heads, or rebuilt cylinder heads, as you would call them, what you have from the machine shop. And I'm gonna put some kind of cylinder head video together that I've been contemplating about, and we're gonna really see what you get and the different options. And I'm probably not gonna do it up as much as I'd like to do it up. I'm probably just gonna do a makeshift one, and then I will really do good stuff in the future when more and more of you decide to finally subscribe. Because I can't put too much passion and soul into this channel until I get that money, until I get that pay, right? Right. Now, someone said the fancy schmancy instructions say that you can't take these things out. We're talking about the balance shaft assemblies without putting new ones in. And some crazy story about how your engine's gonna get destroyed if you do this or that. We're just gonna cut to the chase and say that I've taken lots of balance shafts out and put them back in. And so far everything's been hunky-dory. I've also taken them back out and putting them back in without the screens, and so far they've been great. Just so you know. But let me address that real quick. This one I had to tap back in my last video. I might not have had to. The more responsible thing to do would probably have been to put a little bit of grease on it, and it would have maybe slid back in without having to tap it. That's probably the case. I'll try that next time, just because that was brought up. But I will say that this thing isn't getting froze to come out, so I'm not gonna go ahead and freeze it to put it back in. You saw how it just very lightly tapped out, and it just very lightly taps in, and I think it's gonna be fine. And I think this one over here is gonna be fine too. But you know, the instructions say you have to do all kinds of crazy things, like it has a weird, crazy contraption to keep this center gear in. But you know, but that's why you watch this channel, so you can learn, you know, what I do, and if it's wrong, then you'll hear about it, right? But so far, I'm telling you straight up, everything is good with what I'm doing so far. But don't just follow what I'm doing without question. Some stuff I put out is gonna be jokingly, you know, I'm gonna make fun of some things, and some things are gonna be satirical to where I'll be completely serious and you got to figure stuff out for yourself. Always watch the comments, because people in the comment section have lots of valuable information. Until next time, subscribe to Naptown Tuner.